Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I'm very excited to be here to present another episode of Let's Finally Talk. So each of the episodes builds on top of the other. So if you have missed any of the episodes, please do go to our YouTube channels and look for the playlist Let's Finally Talk. This is where we are keeping those playlists, and you can find everything that you need there. Everything I'm going to be talking about today is based on my book, Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening, as well as Holy But Harmful, The Silent Sin of Judgment. And you can find out where to purchase these books by going to Amazon or by going to my website. So let's get into the heart of our conversation today. Today, we're going to be talking about the internal shift that occurs when self-trust, trusting yourself, replaces the need for us to explain ourselves to other people. Many times, people, myself included, rely heavily on explaining ourselves to other people so that we feel safe, we feel validated, we feel heard, we feel justified. Yet over time, this perpetual habit can erode our confidence, and it actually makes our decision process tied to that external approval. Now, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about the fact when we are in a situation that we feel that we have to justify ourselves to someone, we have to explain ourselves to someone. Meanwhile, we know why we did what we did. We know why we think what we think, but we want to be loved. We want to be accepted. We want to fit in. We want to feel welcomed. And sometimes in order to do that, we feel we have to sell our soul. And what do I mean by that? I mean by not being authentic, by basically just being a people pleaser, by agreeing with whatever it is that someone else says so that we feel like we can fit in. Meanwhile, inside, it doesn't feel good. What happens over time is it starts to build into resentment. Resenting the other person or persons, but ultimately resenting ourselves. So why do we do this? And how can we be aware of when we are doing it? Well, first of all, we have to be comfortable with who we are. And that's not an easy task. It's something that I work on every single day because new things are always coming up for us. New experiences, we meet new people. And in these new situations, we sometimes go back to old habits. Maybe we found our power, we found our voice when it's with people that we know, because sometimes that can also be a control mechanism. But when we're in new experiences with new people, we feel like, oh, I've got to conform. I've got to just give in. Or we might go the exact opposite and we might take a platform. We might stand and just, I'm not saying actually physically stand, we can, but we might feel like, oh, I've got to be in command of the situation. I've got to tell them this is how it's going to be. And so in that situation, that's an extreme on the other side. So today I want us to think about what it truly looks like when we trust ourselves. How will we know? No one's going to come and tell us. It's a feeling we get from our intuition. We know that we are on a path where we believe in ourselves. And there's no greater feeling. Sometimes it can happen quickly. Sometimes it can take a lifetime. And sometimes it may never happen. So what is the difference? Why does it happen for some people and not for other people? Because we take the time to get to know ourselves. We actually look at the good and we look at the bad and we look at the ugly. Now, I don't like to label per se good, bad, and ugly because that could be judgmental. What I mean by that is we look at what works, what doesn't work, and especially what doesn't feel comfortable in our skin. Someone said to me, and I don't even know who it was decades ago, we have to be able to be comfortable living in our own skin. When no one's around, there's no one to vent to. It's just you and you. Do you feel comfortable in your own skin? Do you feel like you've been people pleasing? And we all people please to some degree, I would think. That's a generalization. But I know sometimes it seems easier just to say yes so that the conversation ends. But that doesn't actually mean that we feel good about it. So we have to set boundaries. And setting boundaries is something that takes time. Because we can put a wall up, that's a boundary. But is it a healthy boundary? I don't know. And so we're going to discuss what are some of these ways that we can know and know what to do so that we can trust ourselves. So if you have any questions while I'm going through, you have any comments, here's what I would just ask. I'm not someone who appreciates negativity when I'm broadcasting. It's difficult enough to get up here and do this. But if you have some constructive feedback, if you have something that actually pertains to the show, then I would love to hear from you. If you're deciding to vent and put something that has nothing to do with this show, you will be blocked. And hopefully you'll understand. And if not, you can think about why you were blocked. So we feel compelled to explain ourselves. And notice I did not just explain myself. I just put up a boundary and said, if you decide to put negative content, you're going to be blocked. I don't have to explain myself. And that's because I trust what I'm doing. I know that I am bringing forth decades of experience, whether it's related to the education I have, the work life experience I have, but I have certain skill sets and experience that I'm here to share with you today. And my goal is so that you can be one step closer to feeling inner peace. And when you feel that inner peace, your feeling, necessity, need to put someone else down doesn't exist. The need to insult someone, to bring negative feedback without anything constructive, it no longer resonates. So there is an emotional cost of constantly justifying yourself. There's also a big difference between communicating and seeking permission. Now, in my course, Setting Boundaries and Asking Permission, I want to explain about that asking permission versus permission seeking. When you are interested in sharing something in your life and you want to share it with someone, we ask permission. We ask, would this be a good time? Do you have 10 minutes now? Do you have 15 minutes now? As opposed to seeking permission on how to think, seeking permission on how to feel, seeking permission on how to make life choices. So what I found is that when we have trust in ourselves, this is kind of like a lid. It just fits nicely on. It quiets the need to explain. Now, that's not a lid on a boiling pot. That's just a lid on going back and forth and justifying yourself in a conversation. When you trust yourself, the need to give an explanation is no longer a sense of urgency. Have you ever felt that way, that sense of urgency? I just want him to understand. I just want her to understand. Ask yourself why. Why do you need someone else to understand? Because you need to feel validated? Now think about this. It's just as easy to ask 15 people, 20 people, 100 people a question about what you're going through. And you may get half the people agreeing with you and half the people don't agree with you. So how does that help? Maybe 90% of the people, maybe 100% of the people do not agree with you. What are you going to do with that information? I think that's something that we really have to ask ourselves, because if you're asking for validation, if you're asking for justification, what are you going to do with the information? How is it going to positively impact the choices that you make? Many times it's just a distraction. And sometimes it's just a way to delay making a decision. Well, I haven't heard from everyone yet. Well, I haven't gotten all the feedback yet. Therefore, we're giving ourselves permission not to do something or to do something. But again, it hangs heavily on what other people think. And you may have a fan group. You may have, as an influencer, people who follow you, or as someone who is not in the public domain. Maybe you have a group of friends and they support you. But then maybe it changes. Maybe something happens and they no longer support you. How important was that opinion? Because all that we have is our intuition and the ability for us to make choices. So I'm asking you to think about, what would it look like to choose yourself? What would it look like to believe in yourself? Now, why do we lean on this need to give explanations? Sometimes it comes from the fact that that's what we grew up with. Always be kind, always be pleasant. Now, does being kind and being pleasant mean that you have to justify what you're doing or look for an explanation? No. The kindness and pleasantness is how we show up. It's in our demeanor. It's how we communicate what we're feeling. So sometimes we have been conditioned to believe that we need external validation. And this might have come from our parents. It might have come from our siblings. It might have come from our teachers. There's so many places where it could have come from. It could also be that we have a fear of being misjudged or misunderstood. That fear can be debilitating. When we are looking for external validation, that, oh, nice job. Now I have to share this with you. I have always been someone who wanted gold stars, meaning I like to do something and then get the gold star. The gold star could be the certificate. It could be the degree. Literally, when I was in kindergarten, it was the gold stars. That's how I came up with this, where we had this poster board and each of the students' names were there. Maybe you had this too. Maybe I'm going back to the dark ages. I don't know. But we would get gold stars or not each day for participating or handing in our homework or whatever the case may be. So I always wanted those gold stars. Today, I look at gold stars in a completely different way. Now, I decided, for longevity's sake, I was going to give up certain things in my life. And it's kind of a personal journey, so I'm not going to go into it. But I don't need any external validation from anyone. I live by myself. There's no one here going, hey, great, nice work. No, it's just me congratulating me feeling good about me. And today, which I will share with you, I'm wearing a jacket that is probably 15 years old that I couldn't get on last week. And now it fits. And so I share that with you because whether you like it or you don't, doesn't matter to me. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean that to me, I know that what I'm doing is working. Now, if I were to open it up for questions and debates, what do you think about this jacket fitting? I could get some positive comments. Maybe I get some negative comments. Maybe I wouldn't get any comments at all. And maybe if I was using my belief system, my value system, maybe I would be going down a different path because my feelings were hurt or because I wasn't getting all positive feedback. And now I'm derailed and I'm thinking, oh, people don't think I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm doing the right thing. So what you think is your personal opinion and you're entitled to that. So I share that because I want you to start to think about what your life would be like if you didn't need external validation from other people, if you didn't have to justify why you think the way that you think. Sometimes we are asked to justify the way we think and feel because of the way we're expressing ourselves. So let's not get lost here because this is an important part of the message. When we express ourselves in a respectful, dignified manner, that is very different than we expressing ourselves using hostility and hatred. And I'm going to keep bringing this up over and over again because I see it so often on social media. We even have a comment right now from someone that's very negative. So sorry, goodbye, you're blocked. And it has nothing to do with this show. People just feel like they use social media and the public forum to put whatever their political views are. But my question to you is, what are you doing about it that's positive? Are you volunteering? Are you doing something in your own community? Are you doing something in your own home? So when we think about how important it is to believe in ourselves, to trust ourselves, what are we surrounding ourselves with? Are we friends with people who are filled with hatred and anger? Are we watching things on the television that get our blood pressure up? And if you are, think to yourself, what is it about this negativity that you are so drawn to? Because it becomes insidious. It starts to live inside of you. It starts to be part of who you are every day. The decisions that you make, the things that you do, they all are impacted by what you surround yourself with. So learning to trust yourself is setting up boundaries. And I mentioned you can set up a wall. Now, a wall, people have to actually climb over, right? And then they get to the top and you're like, hey, I don't want you coming through anyway. So we still have to deal with people. So setting a boundary means that you state, this is what I stand for. This is what I'll accept. And from after here on, it's not coming into my life. Does that mean that you should go and post on social media how much you hate this and how much you hate that? Go work on yourself, because if you're working on yourself, you're not going to be filled with hatred. You might not agree with everything, but you find a way, in a peaceful way, to express yourself. Because if you're not, you're part of the problem. And you might be offended by that, but think about it. If everyone was in a place of inner peace, where you really, truly respected yourself, and you surround yourself with other like-minded people who are respectful, peaceful, filled with grace, there would be no need for all of the anger. But yet, the anger continues. And if you don't know why you're so angry, maybe you can reach out and get some help. It's possible you can figure it out yourself. You can start writing things down. This is not a show about anger. And I see we have some comments about anger. Yeah, I don't know where anger issues are coming from. It's, sometimes it's a result of a chemical imbalance. Sometimes it's a result of being in an environment that is constantly challenging. Sometimes it's a result of our upbringing. So I can't say on an individual basis why a specific person is angry. But what I do know is, with the work that I've done on myself and the work that I do with my clients, it's learning to observe the emotions that come up. And you can say, okay, I feel angry now. Okay. And you give yourself a time limit. And the time limit for me is 10 minutes. And you might say to yourself, 10 minutes? How can you possibly? Because I have a system. I will spend 10 minutes at the most. One time I was upset for an hour. And after that, I say to myself, what is the solution? Because when we're in a highly emotional state, we lose focus of what the issue even is. We have someone writing in, I don't know where my anger comes from. That's what I'm talking about. You've lost focus of where the anger is coming from. So, and again, there are extreme cases. There are cases, I don't know if this is this person's case. There are cases where people need to seek outside help. Now, it could be a coach, it could be a mentor, it could be a therapist. I don't know what the situation is. I am not a medical doctor. I have a doctorate in business administration, but I'm not a medical doctor. What I am sharing with you is that when you say to yourself, I will permit myself to feel these emotions, and then I will have a time limit where I will say, you know what? That's enough. I'm going to switch my perspective. I'm going to look and see all the things that I have that I'm grateful for, because trust me, each and every one of us has something to be grateful for. And it could be as simple as you woke up today, because there would be how many people who would trade places with you, people who are not here, children who were killed, people who would say, you know what, I'd like to have another chance. So we're all here. So we get to make a choice. Will we fill our life with affirmations of positivity, of giving thanks, of being grateful? Or will we be part of the people? There's someone else here. Yeah, which I'm deleting, no explanation. Negativity, sorry, not a place on my TV shows. You can give constructive feedback, but anger and negativity about politics, not the place for it. So, going back to our program, by learning to trust yourself, you learn to set these boundaries. And people will push the boundaries, believe me. They will see if they can get you to change your point of view. Why? Because they feel uncomfortable in their own skin. And so when people feel uncomfortable in their own skin, what do they want to do? There's an old expression, misery loves company. They want to bring you down to where they are. But when you set the boundary, you're no longer engaging at that level. It's called emotional intelligence. So what can you do if you're interested in living a life where you are the one who is in control of your own emotions, as opposed to basically offering them out to the world? And what actually changes when your self-trust starts to strengthen? Your decisions are quieter. You're not phoning a friend. You're not putting a chat message out to 20 people. What do you think I should do if this? You're making decisions yourself. That doesn't mean you don't have mentors. It doesn't mean you don't have coaches. It doesn't mean you don't have advisors. And again, if you're not in the public domain or you don't have a business, those three terms, mentor, coach, advisor, they might not resonate with you. But we all have someone or someones who are in our life that we lean on, that we trust. And that doesn't mean that we have to have their approval, but it might be someone we feel we can trust to just listen. It also means when we're shifting into self-trust that we're making choices, but we're not explaining them. Have you ever made a decision and you didn't tell those closest to you, and later they'll say, I can't believe you didn't tell me that? Well, why can't you believe it? Why do I need to tell you what I'm doing? Are you telling me everything that you're doing? And if so, why? Think about these things. Think about your own life at this moment without any judgment. And when the show's over, think about it without any judgment. Are you truly at peace with who you are? If we took away all the titles that we collect over our life, whether it's a business person, whether it's a mother, a father, whether it's a sister, a brother, without the titles, and it's just you, this container that we have, are you at peace? Are you open to the concept of releasing the need for people to agree with you? Do you feel the need to agree with everyone else? Are you the person always going, you're right, yes. And meanwhile, you're thinking, I can't wait to get out of here. I have never heard such a crock. I don't know. But what I want you to think about is when you get to the point where you no longer need to explain yourself, you are coming into your own. You don't own clarity to people who don't honor it. You don't owe clarity to people who don't respect it. You owe the clarity to yourself. And there's an old expression also, to thine own self be true. So, how does our communication change when we start to trust ourselves? We listen more. We speak less. But when we do speak, we do it intentionally. We allow the silence without trying to fill it. We let our actions, what we're doing, replace explanations. Our boundaries become steadier, stronger, and less reactive. We respond instead of defending ourselves. This clarity that I am sharing with you, that I hope is resonating with you, it does not need to be defended when it's coming from your alignment. I'm going to go back to the 3 questions that I always ask you to consider every single day, day after day after day. Before you speak, before you text, before you email, before you post, before you phone someone, is what you're going to say kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? If it is not those 3 things, I want you to think about not doing it. Why? Because that negativity that you're putting out there, it will come back to you at some point in time. So you might have offended someone. You might have hurt someone. You might have said something that you thought was really funny. And it may really hurt another person. And I've mentioned this before, but I did some research, and what I found from a study that was from one of the Ivy League schools, that when we say something that hurts someone, they can forgive us, but it may take up to 20 years for them to forget what we said. And when someone says, oh, I was just kidding, they weren't kidding. They feel embarrassed. So now they're trying to explain themselves, right? They insulted you potentially with a passive aggressive comment, and they try to justify it by, oh, I was only kidding. Or, oh, I didn't mean that. Explanations. So start to listen to the explanations you're giving and the explanations you're getting. And at some point, when you've done the work, when you have the clarity, when you don't feel like you need to be in a place of critiquing other people and just trying to be so evil and just being hateful and angry, you will have an epiphany. And it will come from the fact that now you have this new lightness in you. And you can see, you can hear, you can feel when someone is judging you. And when they start to explain themselves, you'll know it for what it is. And by the way, don't try to change their minds. Don't try to get them to believe in what you're saying, because they're not where you are. They don't have the emotional intelligence yet that you have. So coming from a place of peace, coming from a place of self-trust is a beautiful place to be. Your stress level will go down. This is all from my own experience and from the people I've coached. Your awareness will increase, and your need to jump into the fire, so to speak, will dissipate. You will be like someone watching people go by. Have you ever been people watching? You're just watching what's going by, but you're not engaging with it. Have you ever been somewhere and you see a group of people, they're together, maybe at a restaurant, and they're all on their phones? They're texting, they're whatever, they're scrolling, they're on their phones. They came out for a meal, and yet they decided to spend the entire time or most of it on their devices. You see it, you're aware of it. And you say to yourself, wow, I'm glad that I'm not at that table. I'm glad I'm not spending money to come out and meet with someone and we're all scrolling through our devices. There's no judgment, but you're aware of it. Things start to shift in your life. So this is all part of what I call elevated listening. Now, does elevated listening mean that I'm standing on a chair and I'm talking down to you? No, it means that I am listening at a different level. If we're born with two ears, because I can't say everyone is, but for those of us who have two ears, we don't use them as much as we use our mouth. Now I'm doing a TV show, so if I wasn't talking, you wouldn't be watching because there'd be nothing to listen to. But when we listen, we're actively involved. We're not doing anything else. If I had my phone and I was doing this TV show and I started scrolling through my phone or I started looking at other things, you would know it. And you'd think to yourself, why am I watching this show? This person's not even present. It's the same thing of how we show up in our life. We get to choose when we are an active listener. So if we are actively listening, which we cannot do all the time, because we have things to do in our life. We cannot completely dedicate and focus ourselves to listening to what someone else has to say because we have things that we have to do. But when we've made the decision that, yes, I'm going to show up and listen at the highest level, that means we have to let go of four things. One, interrupting. Interrupting might look as simple as this. You are ready to jump in. The person's sharing. You're ready to jump in at any moment. That's not listening at an elevated level. That's the same thing that goes on day in and day out. The second thing is someone sharing something with you and you think to yourself, oh, I know what they need. They just shared a problem with me and I think I can help them fix it. Did they ask you to fix their problem? Did they specifically say, oh, hello, Joe, I have a problem and I was wondering if you can help me fix it? If they didn't, and you are thinking this, you're not listening. You're coming from a place of fear. And the fear is that if you don't come up with a way to fix this problem, maybe this person won't be friends with you. Maybe they won't be married to you, whatever the case may be. We find this a lot in committed relationships where one person is sharing something to the other person and the other person feels like, oh, it's my job to solve this problem. But maybe the other person just wanted to vent and wanted someone to listen. And if you get out of the problem solving mode, think about how much pressure you let go. It's a lot of work to come up with a solution to a problem, isn't it? Especially when it's not your own problem. So we let go of that with elevated listening. The third is what I call stage hogging. Stage hogging is where someone is telling you about themselves. And you have had a similar experience. And you think this is a cool way to bond with this person. I will tell them that I have this in common with them. Well, that's nice, but they never got to finish their story. So they were telling you how they had difficulty, for example, shoveling the ice out of their driveway. They couldn't find anyone. And you immediately go in and say, you know what? We have the same problem. Now, the person didn't even get finished explaining the story, and you stole the stage. So that person feels unheard. And now you're in charge because you stole the show and you offended someone. Was it worth it? The last one is the toughest one. The last one is judgment. You may be watching the show right now and you may be judging me. You may judge the way I look. You may judge the way I speak. You may judge this television network. You could spend all your life judging other people. What's it doing for you? I don't know. Only you can answer that question. But what I teach people is how to be aware of when you're judging, because we all do it. Even I do it, and I catch myself. So when we're being judged, what can we do? When we are judging, how can we stop? So listening at an elevated level means when someone's sharing something with you, and let's say you have a completely, totally different perspective than what they have, in here you're judging them. You're labeling them. Oh, he's one of those. She's one of these. And you're no longer listening. You have now put people into boxes. You know, a sock drawer, I've heard this analogy for other reasons, but sock drawer where all the socks are lined up. Maybe yours are all thrown in there, but I know people have socks lined up with these different partitions. You start putting people into these boxes. That's a judgment. When you make statements that are meant to be supportive and they're meant to be complimentary, but then you put something on the end of it, for example, you look great for your age. Was the for your age, was it necessary? No. Is it kind? No. Is it true? Who knows? What's the barometer? So why did you say it? Why were you thinking it? That's what elevated listening is about. And so I teach courses on elevated listening. All of our TV show hosts are trained and certified in elevated listening, because when someone comes on our TV network, we want them to know that they have a safe space to share what they have to share. There's no script. I'm coming to you extemporaneously right now. So I teach that to people. And that's what I want you to take away from this program, is that you have a choice. Maybe you made some mistakes yesterday. Maybe you just made some mistakes. You have a choice. You can be honest with who you are and say to yourself, how much time am I spending working on me versus judging other people? How much time am I spending? And I'm a huge advocate of social media, by the way, because I think social media connects us in ways we've never been connected. But are you using the social media in a positive way? And I'll give an example. I was on Instagram and I saw an ad for the Wharton School of Business. And for those of you who don't know, the Wharton School of Business is one of the top, if not the top business school in the country. And it was about a program they were offering, Chief Strategy Officer. So I saw it over and over again. It just kept popping up. And so I decided to apply. And I thought, I don't know if I'm going to get in because of my age. And of course, no one could blatantly say we're not taking you because you're 62. But I got it. And so my point is that I wouldn't have even known about it if it weren't for social media. But if you're using social media as a way to vent your anger about what's going on in the world, why? What good is it doing? Think about it. What is it changing? You have the ability to work on yourself and change yourself, as opposed to joining the masses and putting negativity out there, which keeps perpetuating and nothing's being done about it in terms of promoting it in that capacity. That doesn't mean the things that you're upset about will not be addressed, but they're not going to be addressed because you're spending your time filled with hate and on social media. Use social media for positive. Find someone who inspires you and then follow them. Start to follow the things they're suggesting. Find someone you can help. I'm happy to be a peace ambassador. And so I've had 3 different rounds of training just in less than a year. And so to me, I'm constantly looking for ways that I can bring peace into the world, which is one of the reasons why I do this show. I have other things to do. I don't need to be here. This is something I'm doing because I feel so strongly about it. And I'm hoping that at least one person out there will take something away from what I'm sharing. So think about, how do you spend your time? If someone were to look at your social media posts, if you're on there, what conclusion, although it may be judgmental, but it might just be everything you post is negative and filled with hate. What is the perception that you are putting out into the world? How do you want to be remembered? What is the legacy that you are creating that you personally have control over right now? I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and it's been a pleasure to be here with you today on Let's Finally Talk. If you haven't done so, I would love for you to subscribe to our channels. We have 2 YouTube channels, USA, Global TV and Radio, and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Please go over to YouTube. We are streaming right now on 8 different platforms, and this program will be distributed by our distributors on many other platforms as well. But YouTube gives us real information. If you want to learn more about elevated listening, you can purchase my book. It's available at fine bookstores all over the world, and it's also available at Amazon. And in there, you will find very good, useful exercises to keep yourself on point with being at peace. And if you want to learn more about judgment, this book has over 100 phrases, statements that are filled with judgment. Maybe statements that you're making, maybe statements that people have said to you. Be aware of it. And how can you react or not react when you're being judged? And when you start judging someone else, what can you do to basically control yourself? Because if you think of the outcome of how you're offending someone, maybe it's someone you don't even know, just because you're so unhappy with yourself. That's what it comes back to. I want each and every one of you to be filled with happiness and with peace. I want you to feel comfortable in your own skin. And so if you're not there yet, it's not too late. You can start right now, rewiring your mind. And if I can help you, please do reach out. My contact details are in the show notes, and you can always find me on our website, usaglobaltv.com. Signing off for now, and we'll be back with our next show. If you want to leave a comment of something that resonated with you, please do. And I look forward to coming back and speaking to you for our next show. Thank you again. Goodbye for now.
Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? In a world quick to judge, one book dares to reveal the hidden cost of silence. Discover Holy but Harmful: The Silent Sin of Judgment, How Hidden Judgments Destroy Relationships and Damage Lives, by Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. The Amazon #1 bestseller that's transforming the way we understand ourselves and the way we see others. Pick up the companion workbook to uncover your own hidden judgments and learn how to break free from them. Available now on Amazon and at fine bookstores worldwide.
viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.